let's read fantasy books for a week. This is actually clickbait. I'm not reading this series. I went through this phase where all I read for probably 2 entire years were psychological thrillers, which are like really good books in my opinion. I really enjoy them, but that is all I read. I did not branch out into other genres until I read, of course, the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I was obsessed. I don't know why I didn't think that I would like fantasy, because growing up I loved fantasy books. Like these series were my jam. I freaking loved them. And I was a huge Harry Potter fan, so it only makes sense that I would like fantasy as an adult because I liked it so much growing up, right? I fell down the rabbit hole of A Court of Thorns and Roses, the series by Sarah J. Maas, and oh my god, I devoured this entire series in weeks, like short weeks, and that's a lot because I'm actually a mom to 7-month-old twin boys. If my nursing tank top didn't give that away. People are always shocked when I say how much I read considering I have 2 tiny babies, but I find the time. This book led me down a freaking rabbit hole. So let's read some fantasy. My bookshelf currently looks like a complete disaster, and there is a reason for that. If you see books that are turned around and you can't see the spine, it's because I've read them recently and I have a very large TBR, if you can't tell, and I want to work my way through it and buy less books, which is not happening honestly, but it's my goal. And the second thing is I have all of these stacks of books out, and the reason behind that is this exact series of reading different genres. I want to do that. So I have some romance books here. I have a stack to read 7 thrillers in 7 days if I can. I have some historical fiction up here together that I want to read. So we're gonna just try all of these different genres together and see if maybe I like something besides thrillers and fantasy. This is bad, but I don't have a single fantasy book on the go to share with you. I have 4. I don't think I've ever had 4 books on the go at once before, but there's a reason behind it. They're also in 3 different formats. First, I am reading Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storm, which are books I think 4 and 5, maybe 5 and 6. I think 5 and 6 maybe? I don't know where the epilogue falls in that, but maybe let's just say 5 and 6 of the Throne of Glass series, which is this series that follows this assassin. At the start of the series, she is fighting for her freedom and it's a magic-free world, but things quickly change throughout the series and it becomes very magical. I'm actually reading these at the same time because a tandem read is like something that's commonly done with these 2 specific books in the series because they take place in 2 different places but in the exact same period of time. So I've gone through and I've made all of these little marks for when to change from one book to the other. But for reference, I am 175 pages into Empire of Storm and I am 179 pages into Tower of Dawn. I do plan on reading those this week, but that's not where we're starting. I also have 2 books on the go on my phone. I was on vacation and I couldn't bring these 2, well I could have, but I didn't want to, bring these 2 massive books with me on vacation. They're just so heavy and I didn't want to do that. So instead I tried to find my e-reader, couldn't find it anywhere. I don't think I need an e-reader. So instead I downloaded the app Libby, which this is not an ad for, but it's basically a way that you can get ebooks out of the library for your phone and read them on your phone. So I'm currently reading A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, which is book number 2 in the From Blood and Ash series. This one, I am devouring this series like so freaking quickly. I can't even explain how much I'm liking it. I've read a number of fantasy books and series since reading A Court of Thorns and Roses in like December, and this is by far my favorite series that I've read. So I'm on page 583 out of 923 on my phone. I honestly don't love reading on my phone, especially with like my babies around. If like they're playing independently and I have some time to read, I hate that I'm on my phone. I would much prefer them seeing me reading a physical book, but this is where we're at. And I also highly doubt we'll be reading any more in that series this week because I am on the wait list for the next book, which is The Crown of Gilded Bones, and I have a freaking 8-week wait for that book, which sucks. And then the 4th book I have on the go, this is a lot, why am I reading 4 books at once, is the Stephen King fairy tale audiobook. I listen to audiobooks when I walk with my kids, which happens almost every day. So I think that's going to be the first thing we do is go for a walk and listen to this. I do listen on 2 times speed because my brain, I feel like, goes so fast, and I feel like audiobooks are so slow. So we have 7 hours and 30 minutes left. Will we finish this book this week? That is my goal. It is also a huge book. I am 9 hours, 6 minutes, and 36 seconds in with 15 hours to go if I was reading at standard speed. Actually, I'm completely shocked, but my twins are still sleeping. They're not having like a really long nap, so I do have a bit of time to read A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. So I'm on page 583. Let's see how much I can read before they wake up. I will say one thing that really sucks about reading on my phone is I'm so easily distracted and I just keep scrolling on social media, which sucks. But I have read 13 pages. Okay, I feel like I should go do some work, but I ended on page 608.
And you must never, never go there at night. You are one of the whole people. Whole people? She reached over the table.
I did something else on Mother's Day that I did not need to do, and that was buy a new book. I have not started it yet. It's another fantasy book, I think. The Atlas 6. I've heard really good things about this, and it was everywhere in the bookstores. I know there's a second book, The Atlas Paradox, too, which is nice. I like when there's more than one book out in a series. Ideally, if I'm gonna read a series, I want the whole series to be out, but that doesn't always happen. So I did buy a new book. I don't need to be buying any more books. We've all seen this bookshelf. My babies. Oh, are they gonna let me vlog? I'm hanging out with my twins and they're currently playing, so I thought I would give you a little reading update on where we're at this week with my reading fantasy books. But first, so many people told me that I could count children's books towards my reading goal for the year, which was 50 books. And I think, I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, but I think I'm on 21 books this year so far, and it is currently May, so I think I'm a bit ahead of schedule. I would not count children's books. If I did, I would read hundreds because today alone I've read multiple books to them. We read a lot in this house. I do, however, have a finished book that we can add to that total, and that is A Kingdom of Ash and Fire. Actually, on Mother's Day is like a little Mother's Day gift. My wife sent me to a brewery nearby and I just read until I finished my book. So if you remember, I was reading it on my phone on the Libby app. Oh, I didn't even get the name right. I read A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout or whatever. I got it out from the library on my phone. I have to say I was disappointed. I did read it quickly, which is typically a sign that I enjoyed the book, but I'm only giving it on my Goodreads. I'll link my Goodreads down below if you want like full reviews, kind of full reviews, on all of the books that I read. I only rated it 3 out of 5 stars, but it has a 4.4 star rating on Goodreads, and I was just honestly disappointed because I read the first book in the series so quickly. I loved it. It was one of my favorite fantasy books that I've read in a long, long time. Overall, the book felt super slow to me, super drawn out. I was not a fan of the pacing, and I like good pacing in a book. So one thing that I did like about the book is that it picked up exactly where the last book stopped. So it was like a big continuation of the story exactly, like no time had passed. I got a baby. No time had passed between the first book and the second book, which was nice, but the entire second book was just their journey between point A and point B. I feel like nothing happened in book 2 at all. It was such a disappointment. So overall, I am only giving it 3 stars. And those 3 stars are mostly because I do enjoy the characters, even though the plot was just really not there for me in this book, and I'm leaving it disappointed. Okay, we have another disappointing reading update. I have been listening to, as I said, Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I've heard such good things about this book. So I have read 12 hours and 26 minutes of the book so far, and I have 11 hours and 40 minutes left. This is where I have to confess something. I have zero drive to finish this book. Like, absolutely none. The book kind of feels like two different stories that are put together. The first part of the book is about a teenager who finds an elderly man, an elderly neighbor who's been injured, and helps rehabilitate him and becomes friends with his dog. It's a very cute little story of friendship that I like. The second half is about the same teenager finding like a magic portal and being transported to another world where the old man had previously been. I have no interest in this magic world. I don't know why, but I'm having so much trouble getting into it. There's just something about it that like I'm not driven to want to listen to it. I mean, I listen on 2x speed and I only have 5 hours left, 5 hours and 50 minutes, I think, and I don't want to finish it. And I don't usually not finish books. I'm sure I will finish it, but my goal had been to listen to an hour each day this week and then I would have it done, especially because I walk my twins. I walk with my twins. I don't walk them, they're not dogs. I walk with my twins for like an hour most days, so it would have been really easy to just like pound it out and be done with it, but I have zero drive to read it, like absolutely none. Not a fantasy book, but this is what Allie read to the twins tonight, and it's such a cute little book. Starting on page 214 in Tower of Dawn and on page 201 in Empire of Storms. Okay, progress. I'm currently reading both of these still. I'm on page 285 of Empire of Storms and on page, this is what I'm currently on, page 373 of this one. So I have read quite a bit this week of these, but not nearly as much as I wish I could have. But life's been busy. Mission complete! I read fantasy for honestly over a week, but let's recap. So I had 4 books that I wanted to finish. These 4. Did I do it? Not in a week, but I did it. I was really, really, really hoping that I could finish all these books in a week, but I think I just bit off more than I could chew. So let's recap the final 3 books now that I am done. So these are the 2 books that I tandem read, books 6 and 7. How many books are in the series? No, books 5 and 6 in the Throne of Glass series, and I gave this 5 stars. This book kept me sucked in at all times. I thought it was so interesting. It goes between so many different characters, but this book stays on the main continent that we already have been following, and it's great. This book, on the other hand, follows a character that I'm just not that into, and other characters that are like introduced that again I'm not that into, and brings them to a new continent that we've never explored before, which sounds like it could be interesting, but for me it just wasn't there. I do see why people say to read these at the same time, because this one is like riveting and so interesting, and this one is just not. So you're never going to want to read this one. It does not suck you in. Tower of Dawn, I only gave 3 stars, mostly because I feel like this didn't have to be its own book. I feel like if anything, this could have been divided into like 2 books with this just brought into it, if you know what I mean. Especially because in the book before this one, we are split between 2 continents. It's just different, the fairy continent and the main one. So it goes back and forth between the 2. So I don't know why they couldn't have done it with this one, because this just wasn't it for me. But I mean, these are absolutely massive books. I think I told you at the start of the video, but this one was 689 pages, and this one was 664. But I'm now reading the final book in the series, Kingdom of Ash, and it is like almost 1,000 pages. So it'll be interesting to see how long that one takes me. Did I start Atlas 6? No, I didn't yet. And finally, I did finish my audiobook too, which was Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I only rated it 2 stars. It was not good. I did not like it. It was so basic. There was no twists or turns or anything super interesting in my mind that happened in it. It was just very much a bland fairy tale for me. I honestly wouldn't recommend it, especially because it's such a long book. It was a 24-hour listen. I kind of wish I just didn't finish it, which is something that I never do, but like, I do not need to know how this ended. I guessed correctly in the beginning of the whole fairy tale part of the book how it was going to end, and that is indeed how it ended. There were no twists or turns or anything. It was very much a straight path to the finish line, and it was not good. So that is me reading fantasy for a week. I have been loving fantasy. It has been such a fun genre to be reading. I am gonna read this one soon, and I'm going to finish Kingdom of Ash. But I am now going to start reading other genres, probably once I finish Kingdom of Ash. I have so many fun book videos that I want to do here with you guys. I want to see if I can read 7 thrillers in 7 days. I want to read romance, like real, like ooey gooey, sweet, like fun little teen romances. I want to read historical fiction. There are so many genres that like I've never read, but also authors I've never read, like J.R.R. Tolkien. Never read it. Never read The Hobbit, never read Lord of the Rings, but I want to. They're on my bookshelf right now. I have all of these stacks of books ready to start different fun videos. This has been so much fun, and I hope that you'll join me back here next week, hopefully, for another video. I cannot wait. My goal is to upload every Friday, so we will see how much I can read. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back here soon with another video. Bye!